Hi, beautiful people. You're welcome back to Prudy's Kitchen. So, today we're making strawberry cream pie. So good, so creamy. If you're new to my channel, you're welcome. Thank you so much for coming. And please don't forget to subscribe, share, and like. And if you're a returning subscriber, I love you all. Thank you so much for being here. So, without wasting time, let's get into the video. So right now we're going to start by making our pie crust, okay? And for this we need 400 grams of all-purpose flour, 50 grams of granulated sugar, 220 grams of very cold butter, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon powder, a quarter cup of cold water, and half a teaspoon of salt. Okay, so these are all we're going to need for the pie crust. Next, I'll cut the butter in cubes and put everything in the food processor except the water. Okay, I'm going to put right now the flour, the sugar, the butter, the cinnamon, the salt, and leave the water. Then I'm going to mix it very well, and lastly, add the water to it. And like always, the ingredients and their exact measurements are listed in the description box below. I mixed it for about 1 to 2 minutes until it was well combined, and then I added the water. Mixed it for about 30 more seconds and turned it to my work surface. I continued kneading it for about a minute or two, and then I covered it with a cling film and set it in the fridge to rest for about an hour. You can totally do this by hand too, okay? It's just that the butter is cold and it's a bit strong to knead, but you can totally do this by hand, okay? So this is 1 hour later. The dough has rested. I floured my work surface and rolled it out. After rolling it out, I put my pie plate on it to make sure that it was the exact size that I needed, okay? Because it's safer to be wider than to be smaller, okay? So I made it a lot wider because it's gonna come up the size. So if it's excess, I cut it off. That's better than for it to be smaller. So right here now, I buttered my pie plate and floured it. That's safer too. You could use only butter, but you wanna be sure that the pie is gonna come off that plate, okay? So next, I put a bit of flour on my dough and rolled it around the rolling pin, okay? Lifted it up and put it in the pie plate. Next, I adjusted it in the plate and cut off the excess with a knife. And then I pinched the edges, okay, to put a bit of design to it. You can also skip it, but it makes it more beautiful when the edges are pinched together like that, okay? Then I poked it with a fork, okay, to allow some air pass through it. Then I put a parchment paper over it and poured in some wheat inside it, okay. This is to give it some weight to maintain the shape. You could also use rice or beans or whatever you have to give it some weight, but I had wheat, so I just used it, okay. That is bogo wheat that I used. So you could use anything you want. Then I set it in the oven to bake at 180 degrees for about 25 minutes. While our pie crust is having a nice time in the oven, let's make our strawberry jam. For this, we're going to need 2 egg yolks and 1 whole egg, 250 grams of sweetened condensed milk, 30 grams of cornstarch, 250 grams of strawberry jam, and 200 ml of whole milk. So these are all we're going to need. Now let's go ahead and separate the eggs. I'm done separating my eggs right now. Like I said before, we need 2 egg yolks and 1 whole egg. So with a hand mixer, I mixed it a bit and added my condensed milk into it. Okay, so with the condensed milk inside, I continued mixing it for about 3 to 4 minutes, okay, until it was very creamy. Then I added the cornstarch and the milk. Next, I set it on the heat and let it boil. Once it boils, after a minute or two, it thickens and then it's done, it's ready. And as you can see, I made it very thick purposely because the jam is light. By the time we mix it all up, it's going to be the perfect consistency. So next, I put it in a plate and covered it with a cling film and set it aside to cool down. So right now the crust is done. Okay, so I took off the weight on it and put it back in the oven for another 10 to 15 minutes or until it's golden brown. So here it is, it's completely golden brown. This is 15 minutes later. It's done, it's perfect. So we're going to set it aside to cool down. Meanwhile, the cream has completely cooled down. So I'm going to put the jam into it and then with a hand mixer mix it very well until it becomes very creamy. So after mixing our strawberry jam in our pastry cream, you can see that it's not very thick anymore. It has become the perfect consistency, okay? That's what we want. So right now, I poured it over the pie crust, leveled it all out, and we're going to go over to the last step of this delicious goodness, which is the heavy whipping cream. Here I have 400 grams of heavy whipping cream and 1 tablespoon of powdered sugar. Okay, I whipped it to stiff peak and then put it in a piping bag with a nozzle attached to it. If you want, you can always skip this step of put it in a piping bag or anything. You could just spread it on top of your pie and that's it. It's beautiful too. It's okay too. Okay, but I just wanted a bit of design. Next, I put about 100 grams of jam in a plastic bag, cut off the tip and, put it bit by bit on top of the pie. You don't want to miss this step because it gives it that bright red color and then it gives it that extra strawberry flavor that you need, okay? Because underneath it, you have that creamy, milky flavor. And then on top of it, you have that jam mixed with whipping cream, okay? It's just so good. And the whipping cream is it's not sugary because I just put 1 tablespoon of sugar in there, okay, powdered sugar. So right now I'm going to take a taste test. And before I go, I want to thank you all so much for watching and I'll see you next time. Bye. Mmm.